is the video deposition of Bradley Cooper, taken by the plaintiff in the matter of Gary D. Rentz and Donna A. Rentz and Krista C. Lister, plaintiffs, the Bradley Cooper defendant, in the General Court of Justice, District Court Division, Wake County, North Carolina. Case number 08-CVD 12310. This deposition is being held at Tharrington Smith, 209 Fayetteville Street, Raleigh, North Carolina, on October 2nd, 2008 at 10:13 a.m. as indicated on the video screen. The court reporter is Robbie Worley for the firm of Worley Reporting of Raleigh, North Carolina. The videographer is Bob Collier for the firm of Worley Reporting of Raleigh, North Carolina. Would counsels now please introduce themselves, and then the court reporter will swear in the deponent.
Alice Stubbs of Tharrington Smith.
Wade Smith, Tharrington Smith.
Lynn Prather, Kurtz and Bloom.
Howard Kurtz with Kurtz and Bloom.
Debbie Sandlin with Sandlin and Davidian.
Steve Mansberry, Tharrington Smith.
Sir, would you place your left hand on that Bible and raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper, my name is Alice Stubbs. I represent the plaintiffs in this case, and I'm going to be asking you some questions today. Is there any reason that you can't answer my questions truthfully this morning?
No.
Okay. Can you state your full name?
Bradley Graham Cooper,
What's your address?
104 Wallsburg Court, Cary, North Carolina,
And what's the zip?
27518.
Have you taken any medication today?
No.
Do you have any reason that, or have you taken any regularly prescribed medications that you have not taken today?
No, I have not. Or no, I do not, I should say.
Okay. Who is your current physician?
I don't actually have a regular doctor. Right now, the only doctor I see is my allergist.
You don't see a family practitioner or an internist?
I've gone to a couple of walk-in clinics just to get a checkup, but that was about 2-3 years ago.
Do you not have a regular annual physical?
Currently not right now, no.
Since you've been, how long have you resided in Cary, North Carolina?
Approximately 8 years.
Have you seen any doctors other than at a walk-in clinic since you've resided in Cary, North Carolina?
I've seen my allergist,
What is your allergist's name?
Dr. Judge.
Dr. Judge?
Yes.
Does he or she have a first name?
He goes by Dave, but that's not his legal name, but it's Dave Judge.
And is he with a practice or is he by himself?
He has his own practice.
What is the name of that practice?
I can't remember off the top of my head, actually. I go to the office every week, but I don't know the office's name, actually.
Where's the office located?
Just across from Waverly Place.
In Cary?
In Cary, yes.
Is he, you say he's with a group or he's on his own?
He owns his own practice.
Are there other doctors in the practice? Just Dr. Dave Judge? He's the only one?
That's correct.
Can I interject here? Brad, let her finish the question because it's hard for the court reporter to pick up, so let's not talk over each other.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Do you take allergy medication?
I have injections that I take that Dr. Judge and his staff gives me. The only other medication I have is sometimes a nasal spray.
How often do you have injections?
Usually about once a week.
And how long have you been having weekly injections?
It's probably been 2 to 3 years.
What is the nature of your allergy?
I've got allergies to trees, pollen, dust, grass.
Have you had those since you were a child, or did you develop allergies as an adult?
I've had them since as long as I can remember. It's probably a teenager or so.
What medication does he inject?
It's 3 different shots based on 3 different types of allergies. I think one is for grasses, one's for pollens, and the other one is for a different type of allergy. I guess they group the shots.
Prior to 2 to 3 years ago, when you began receiving the injections, what type of medication did you take for your allergies?
Just over-the-counter Claritin or some allergy medication.
Do you still take Claritin and over-the-counter medicine?
No, I do not.
Have the injections cured your allergies, or
Yes.
okay? Any other doctors that you've seen since you've been living in North Carolina, other than your allergist and the walk-in emergency clinics?
I went to the emergency room once for a cut of my hand a couple of years ago, but I can't think of any other doctors I've been to. There may have been. It's been 8 years, but I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Do you not have an annual physical?
Objection asked and answered. But go ahead and answer it, Brad.
I had a physical a couple of years ago, I think probably 3 years ago. Had a physical, and the doctor said, I asked him about getting an annual physical, and he said, "You're healthy. You don't need to come back in a few years." There was no need for an annual physical.
How old are you?
I just turned, I will be turning 35 this year,
What's your date of birth?
October 9th, 1973.
You just indicated that you cut your hand a couple of years ago. Is
Yes.
that correct? And how did you cut your hand a couple of years ago?
On a,
I'm going to object to the relevance, but Brad, you can go ahead and answer the question.
cut my hand when I was putting up a light in the outside of the house.
On the outside of your current residence?
That's correct.
And did you have to have treatment, stitches?
No, I did not. They just put a Band-Aid on and cleaned it, and that was it.
Do you recall what year that would have been?
No, it was 2, 3, maybe even 5 years ago.
2, 3, 5 years ago?
I really can't remember. It was years ago.
And what hospital or medical care facility did you go to?
I believe I went to Wake Med on the corner of Tryon and Kildare Farm.
Do you recall the doctor that treated you?
No, not at all.
Did you drive yourself to the doctor?
No, Nancy did.
And were the girls in the car at that time?
Objection to relevance, but go ahead.
Given that it was years ago, I can't remember if the girls were in the car or not.
So is it your testimony that you went to the hospital, to the emergency room, and they put a Band-Aid on your hand?
As far as I can remember, yes, it was years ago, like I said.
Did they do anything other than put a Band-Aid on your hand?
I really can't remember what they did. It was years ago. They may have put a stitch in. I really don't remember. It's years.
Have you had an opportunity in the last 8 years to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist?
In the last 8 years, Nancy and I saw a marriage counselor. I'm not too sure if she was an official psychologist or a psychiatrist.
When did you and Nancy see a marriage counselor?
I believe it was February of this year, 2008.
What is the marriage counselor's name?
Maria Arthur?
Arthur?
Yes, I believe so.
Where does she practice?
North Raleigh?
Is she with a group or does she practice by herself?
I'm not sure. Her business card has her name on it. I don't remember if it had a practice on it or not.
How many sessions did you and Nancy attend?
We attended one group session, or one joint session, I should say. And then Nancy attended an individual session the next week, and I attended an individual session the following week.
And would that all have taken place in early 2008?
Yes.
February of 2008?
February may have lapsed into March, but yes, February, March 2008, yes.
Prior to that time, did you and Nancy see any other marriage counselors?
No.
Did Mrs. or Dr. Arthur, was she referred to you through Cisco?
She was one of the marriage counselors that was provided by our health care plan.
Who selected her?
I found 3 or 4 different doctors that I had done some research on, and they seemed suitable. I asked Nancy which one she'd prefer, and she didn't have a preference. So I chose the doctor with the earliest appointment.
So you and Nancy only had one joint session? Is that
That's correct.
And tell me about that joint session.
Objection, but without waiving the objection, go ahead and answer the question.
How long was it?
I believe it was maybe an hour.
And what was said in this session?
Nancy and I talked about the issues that we were facing at the time.
What are those issues?
We had a few issues, but one was the indiscretion I had with Heather Mature 3-4 years ago. The other issue we had was just dealing with trust, overspending. Those are kind of the main issues we had talked about.
I'd like to ask you about those issues specifically. You reference an indiscretion with Heather Mature. What do you mean by that indiscretion?
And again, I'm going to object to this line of questioning, but he's going to answer the questions. And so, for the record, I'm going to object to every question after this, but I'm not going to interrupt your flow by doing that. So,
Thank you.
So approximately 4 years ago, I had sexual intercourse with Heather Mature once.
Would that have been in 2004?
It was 3.5, 4 years ago. It would have been about the tail end of 2004, possibly, yes.
Was it in the winter, the summer?
It was years ago. I don't remember the exact date, but I would say it's in the later half of 2004, possibly early 2005.
And where did the sexual intercourse take place?
It took place in our home, in the residence of Nancy and myself.
Where in the residence?
Took place in the closet of the master bedroom.
What time of day did that occur?
Given that it happened years ago, I could not be sure of the time of day.
Do you know if it was in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening?
I'd be guessing, but I would say it would be afternoon or evening.
Who else was present when you and Heather Mature were having sexual intercourse in the closet of your residence?
There was no one else in the closet.
Who else was in the residence?
In the residence, there was Nancy's and I, daughter Bella, and I, to the best of my knowledge, there was the children of Heather and Scott, which would be Addison and Chancellor.
Was Katie in the residence?
Katie was not born at that time.
How old was Bella?
Bella was, again, I'm guessing, but I'm guessing she was about 1 at the time, possibly younger.
And how old were Heather Mature's children at that time?
Chancellor is about the same age as Bella. Addison would have been, I believe at the time, 3.
So, other than the 3 children under 3 years old, was there anybody else present in the residence?
No, there were not.
How long were you and Heather Mature in the closet?
Given that it was years ago, I would be guessing, but speculating, I'd say less than 15 minutes.
Is that the only time that you had sexual contact with Miss Mature?
objection to the form of the question. Alice, could you please ask that in a different way? I don't know what sexual contact
Is that
means.
the only time that you... Well, let me ask you this. Did you kiss Heather Mature when you were in the closet?
I'd be guessing. I would imagine so, possibly.
You don't remember if you kissed a woman that you had sex with?
Given that it was 4 years ago, I don't remember if I kissed her in the closet.
Okay. But you do recall having had sex with her in the closet?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall ever having kissed Heather Mature?
Yes.
How many times?
I'd say the number of incidents would be 3, 4. I would say at most 5, but again, this is 4 years ago approximately.
And were those on separate occasions, or was it all during the one day that you were also having sex in the closet?
They would be separate incidents.
Where did those incidents take place?
To the best of my knowledge, one incident happened in a vehicle.
Whose vehicle?
I do not remember if it was her vehicle or my vehicle.
Where was the vehicle?
It was parked in a street.
What street?
I don't remember. It was not a street in our neighborhood.
Would it have been in Cary?
I really don't recall.
Did you and Miss Mature ever leave Cary together?
Heather and I had dinner one night while Scott and Nancy watched their children.
When was
So that was approximately 4 years ago.
Was that dinner outside of Cary?
I believe, to the best of my knowledge, it was downtown Raleigh.
Where did you have dinner with Heather Mature?
I don't remember the exact restaurant.
Do you recall anything about the location?
The only thing I believe I remember, we had sushi.
Was this before or after you had sexual intercourse in the closet?
It would be before.
How long before?
I don't recall. A week, 2 weeks. I can't be sure.
Did you and Heather Mature ever leave Cary together any other times than going to Raleigh for dinner?
No.
Did you and Heather Mature ever have sexual intercourse other than that incident in the closet?
No.
Did you ever have any other sexual contact? And by that I mean more than kissing with Heather Mature?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
When and where?
I believe one incident was in the vehicle. And again, I don't know which vehicle. And the other incident I can recall, I believe, was at our residence, Nancy's and I, residence.
And what did you do?
To the best of my knowledge, I believe Heather Mature gave me oral sex.
Where would that have taken place?
I don't remember where in the home it was.
Where in the home? I didn't hear what
I'm
you
sorry,
said.
it was in the residence, but I don't remember where in the residence.
Was that your and Nancy's residence?
Yes.
Was that a separate incident from having the day that you had sexual intercourse in the closet?
Yes.
Who was present when Heather Mature gave you oral sex in your residence?
I don't recall.
Do you recall whether your children were in the residence?
No, I do not recall who was in the home at the time. I don't recall the day of the week it was. I don't recall the time of the day it was.
Do you have problems with your memory?
No, this is 4 years ago, and I couldn't even tell you what month it was.
Would you recall whether your wife was present?
She was not present in the room. I don't recall if she was outside the home or within the home.
Are there any other instances in which you had oral sex with some Heather Mature or anybody else in your marital residence?
No.
Would you have had oral sex with Heather Mature before or after you had sexual intercourse with her?
The oral sex would have happened